are a lot of conspiracy theories that surrounds ISWAP, Boko Haram, and of course, terrorism in Nigeria, as some claim that some military personnel are part of this military, or of the form of military actions that we oftentimes see Boko Haram involving. Example of them is having weapons and being able to use sophisticated weapons. Of course, they go out there to receive training, as we all know. Sergeant David Bako, Desert's Nigerian Army, leaks how Dapchi girl's abduction was planned. As many Nigerians continue to react to the Dapchi girl's kidnap drama, a certain Nigerian soldier, some say is a Christian, based on the name that he bears, Sergeant David Bako, is from the middle belt of Nigeria, Plateau State to be precise. The story is that he has revealed how the Dapchi girl's kidnap drama was plotted and executed. He said he found it absolutely necessary to make the confession considering the criminal killings across the country, which he likened to ethnic cleansing. In an email sent to an online newspaper somewhere in Europe, in Paris, Sergeant David Bako said the plot was planned and rehearsed for 2 weeks by Buhari's loyalists in the army, of which he was one. He said the desperation by Buhari to rule Nigeria for another 4 years drove him on to employ all means to make sure he remains in power. President Buhari, he said, will be no pushover in 2019 because he had perfected his plans to remain in the villa beyond 2019. Of course, we're in 2020. He won the election somehow, if we might want to use the word, that word that he won the election, he got himself there back. Continue the story. He said they were giving 80 million naira to execute the plot to restore the people's waning confidence in the Buhari's government as Boko Haram stepped up attacks recently, which was a complete embarrassment to Buhari's government. And after claiming he had defeated the Islamist sect, oftentimes we hear the stories that Boko Haram has been technically defeated. And sometimes we do hear, when it comes to certain court cases that the government is involved in, there is a man that Buhari brought in, is called Tanko. Tanko is from the northern part of Nigeria, and he's a specialist in Sharia law. In fact, that is what he studied in the university. But this same person has been brought to be the CGN, the Chief Justice of Nigeria. He has been brought in to head the judicial system that we have in Nigeria, even though he is not vast or trained when it comes to the kind of constitutional law and the laws that we have in Nigeria. We do not have that streamlined kind of law like the Sharia law and the punitive measures that is applied to it. That's not to say that in certain cases, when you are charged to the court, maybe for murder, and they've been able to prove you will not be, like the story of the lady that killed the husband, she is going to be executed. We know that there are laws like that, but they're cutting off the arms, legs, plucking off the eyes and stuff like that, that we can actually attribute to Sharia. It's not in the Nigerian law and constitution. The same man was pushing for Sharia to be the universal, the acceptable law in Nigeria, which people said is wasting his time. If you want to have your country, go to Sambisa Forest, go with Boko Haram, ISWAP, so you can have the same law and have your country. And you can even have Islamic movement in Nigeria. Of course, there are different factions. One is Sunni Muslim, one is the Shiite Muslim. Now, he wrote, I feel constrained to make this confession. As I'm making this stunning confession, I am no longer in Nigeria because I have to unavoidably desert the Nigerian army. That's what they call a war, to save my life and that of my family from a possible execution. Martial court is definitely going to be put on in the court, and you know what it is. He said this is going to be done by the Buhari's agents. Banawi faction of Boko Haram knows nothing about the abduction of Dapchi girls. He said we were paid 80 million naira to carry out the abduction, which we planned and rehearsed for 2 weeks to make it look real. He said 16 of us strong Buhari loyalists took part in the plot and were given 80 million and some trucks with which to carry out the operation. On February 19, 2017, after we had received the money, he went further to say that they were giving the money February 19, 2017. So I want you to keep the timeline and not just the story. Of course, we know that this is someone writing, and he has named himself David Bako. He said he is in the military, that he was part of the special forces that were used in the north to achieve Buhari's aim. Is it Islamization or what is it? Now, he said, we were told to make it a top secret, and further told that we will be handsomely rewarded if the plans pay off. The plan, according to our unit commander, is to make Nigerians regain their confidence in the Buhari's government, demobilize the PDP, which we all dislike with a passion, and the Obasanjo coalition, which the villa saw as an emerging threat if something is not urgently done. Obasanjo, our commander, told us will succeed in dislodging Buhari from the villa in 2019 if we do not contrive or connive together and contrive a means to make Nigerians believe more in Buhari's leadership. The money we got was not paid into our account but was brought by car from Abuja, totaling 80 million naira, which was shared amongst us with trucks to carry out the operation. On that night, the soldiers stationed in the neighborhood were deployed to other locations to enable us carry out the operation, each free, which we did. The Boko Haram flag you saw us carrying was designed by us and had ourselves wrapped up like the insurgents. There was no such thing like kidnapping by the Banawi faction of the Boko Haram. We drove into the school compound in a commando style, broke through the school gate, while the night guards, numbering 3 or more, ran for their dear lives as they heard our gunshots and chanting Islamic war songs amid Western education is a sin. We drove straight into the school dormitory and ordered the girls to get onto the trucks, some of whom slept naked because of the scorching heat. You know what it is in the north. Although we had given warnings by our commander not to molest or rough handle the girls, as such action would not be tolerated under any guise. We were given 1 hour and 45 minutes to carry out the operation from where we drove to the school, and the operation did not last for more than 45 minutes to get the girls on board the trucks. So they had no time to carry any of their belongings. We drove them to an undisclosed location which was unknown to any of us because our unit commander led the way until we arrived in where they all carefully kept. They were kept. The claim that 5 of them lost their life is of course not true, as we did not kill or even shoot any of them, following the strict orders and instructions that they should be treated gently, kept safe and unharmed. While we kept them where we kept them, we were told to preach to them, make ourselves look like terrorists, to enable them to believe, recount and narrate that what they saw, which would make people believe the abduction story. We were not allowed to go with our phones to the location where the girls were kept. Therefore, we could not take photographs of the girls and the location. Was there any statement released on the abduction by the Banawi group? Was there any video footage by the Banawi group like that of Chibok girls? That was to make it a top secret, which the government does not want to play with. On the day we were asked to return the girls, police and our colleagues were deployed out of the route to avoid any possible confrontation. With those who knew nothing about the plot. While leaving, we told them to embrace Islam and gave them clothing because some of them were taken away naked with wrappers they slept with when we adopted them from the dormitory. Out of the money that was shared, I got 3 million naira, and on second thoughts, I decided to return the money to my unit commander to keep it for me, as I have no ready use for the money. I told him I will be traveling to Jos to see my mother, who was very ill, and that on return I will collect it back from him and take it to my bank. Unsuspicious of my motives, he collected it from me and gave me 5 days to report to my duty post. With the visa I had on my passport, I had to go as far as Port Harcourt, where no one knows me, and flew out of the country while asking God forgiveness for the part I played in the whole operation. What actually made me repent of the evil is the plot on the ground to carry out ethnic cleansing in Nigeria. And as I write this piece, I make bold to say here that every Nigerian community in the southern part of the country has been infiltrated by armed militias imported from Niger, Mali, Chad, by the Buhari government to unleash terror on Nigerians, the rest of the South, if they, by a twist of fate, resist the ongoing ethnic cleansing. My colleagues have often boasted that the Quran, according to the late Saldana, must be read in the sea. And that is what this government is doing. The Dapchi girls' purported abduction is to make Nigerians believe the Buhari government is working, and it would therefore make no sense to vote him out. The remaining 4 years is to make him execute the hidden agenda to carry out ethnic cleansing. The plot on ground is to have every dissenting voice executed that would be a threat to the successful execution of the agenda. That is the reason why they first came up with the cattle colonies, which the Southern leaders rejected. As I write this piece, my heart bleeds for Nigeria. I regret the part I played in the abduction of the Dapchi girls to further swindle Nigerians into believing Buhari is the best person to lead the country in the coming years. Please, Nigerians, I beg for forgiveness, and I ask you to help me with prayers to God for forgiveness in the role I played. This is a story that has been shared anonymously somehow, but then the person said he is Sergeant Bako David, and he said, Nigerians, there is a grave danger of allowing President Buhari to continue and keep on with whatever he's doing. Now, you know, as I oftentimes do, I always share reactions of people as regards this. Someone say, as saying Nigerian army who have not been paid his allowance to give up 3 million in the present day economic crunch needs to be desired, bro. So another one says that I don't care if the story is true or not. What one reservation I have about the write-up is about the Christian soldier, but then nevertheless, either is a Christian soldier or not. But we know what happened to Leah Shaibu. We know what happened to her. We heard that she has been forcefully impregnated by one of the commanders, and they forcefully made her accept Islam one way or the other. They think they will break her down. Then we know of the man that was beheaded by the same Boko Haram terrorist group, either it is ISWAP or whatever faction it is. We know what this is all about. Now, some might say this is not correct. Whatever it is, either it is correct, either it is true, either it is not true. Are we saying that this ISWAP, Boko Haram, and the rest of these terrorist activities that we are saying, are you saying the Nigerian army, the Air Force, and coupled with any other paramilitaries are not able to crush the menace of Boko Haram, even though we know that some private citizens are importing weaponized drones? Why is it so difficult to shut down terrorists in the north of Nigeria? I want you to think about this. Do you think Nigeria should remain as one country, or time for us to break or split? That's what it is for now. If you're not a member of this channel, let us grow together by you tapping on the subscription button and the red notification icon bell below. It will alert you whenever videos are uploaded. And if you are already a member of this channel, I say a very big thank you for the support.